Hi, Sarah. How are you?
Hi, Kyle. Good. How are you?
All right. Thanks for joining. Really appreciate you diving in to share some of what you're experiencing with Good Day with the rest of our community. If you could start by giving a quick intro and then also just tell us a little bit about the brand.
Yeah, of course. I am Sarah. I'm the operations manager at SaunaBox, and we are a wellness brand. The name probably gives it away, but we make saunas more accessible for everyone to have them in their homes. The founder story is, they were spending 30 minutes to an hour in LA traffic going to a gym, trying to sauna, and then the same amount of time coming home. So that's kind of where the brand was born, was they just wanted an affordable sauna that they could have in their home.
I love it. I love it. Speaking as a sauna guy myself, I can't believe that you can just like roll through a Shields and see these things on the shelves in there. So very cool. What a and I think you may have like missed a little bit of the punchline on the brand itself. I mean, from starting to today, just on an absolute beeline to the moon. You guys are moving.
Yeah, we just started with the Steam Kit product that we still sell today. And now we have Pulse Pro. We added red light for the Steam Kit as well. And we have Solara Pro, which is more of the traditional box sauna that you can have. And then we're always launching new SKUs. So
Yeah.
we have a couple on pre-sale right now on the website.
Yeah.
But we're excited. We're going to continue expanding the brand and have infrared saunas, steam saunas, traditional saunas. So
Well,
we're,
cool.
we're your sauna people.
I get it. I mean, man, you couldn't, if you rewind 5 years ago, you just couldn't have imagined such a pervasive like trend and like so cool. So cool to see.
Pretty amazing. And we're in Dick's Sporting Goods
Is
nationwide.
that right?
Just
Oh,
throw
I didn't
that
even
out
know
there.
that.
Yep.
Oh man, speaking to my heart there.
I
That's
know.
dangerous. You're in my backyard now. All right, so give me a sense of like the stage of the business. So clearly you're not on day zero, day one. You've kind of like gone through some really great, like you've grown out of that first phase. Like tell me where you guys are at. Clearly you've gotten into offline, which is cool. Any other
Yeah,
context you can
absolutely.
share?
Very active growth phase, right? Very
Yeah.
rapid active growth phase. So, we have our Shopify storefront and then a couple of national retailers. We have drop ship retailers as well that we work with. And then Amazon is a big one for us as
Wow.
well that we're currently building right now. It's already big, but we're still building it. So, each time we get a new product, we always try to get it on Amazon too. But
Yep.
yeah, we're everywhere.
That's amazing. And I mean, it makes, well, by the way, having a wide distribution strategy makes so much sense for the product. Part of you almost have to like see these things to believe how cool they are. And so let's like drill in. Let's look at operations before you were signed on to Good Day. Like, give us a sense of like what were the main sort of operational challenges you were dealing with at the time? What kind of led y'all to Good Day?
Yeah, I think what really led us to Good Day and what we were struggling with was we didn't have any single source of truth, which you'll probably hear me talk about many times today.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm sure everybody can kind of know what that feeling is when you have multiple logins, multiple places where you have to find the information. And then what do you do with that information when you export it? Then you have to create a Google sheet or an Excel document or put it somewhere in order to connect it all together. So I think that's what we were struggling with the most, was like, how do we put this all together and how do we save save a lot of time by logging into all of these platforms and exporting the information?
Totally. I mean, I can't even describe, like, I just remember this moment viscerally where my belief that our spreadsheets would take us to the end and just
Yes.
watching them crumble.
And then you
Uh,
finally get the spreadsheet, you have a beautiful dashboard, and
I
then it's like,
know.
okay, and now a minute later, the all the data is there's new
Yeah,
data. It's out of sync now. So
absolutely.
yeah, I love a Tableau dashboard, but you still like, you got to sync it up somehow. So
Yeah, 100%. And did you have any specific breaking moments, or was it just kind of a general, like, oh man, we're beyond this sort of moment?
think it was just like a lot of fatigue moments.
Yeah. It's a series of fatigue moments. Yeah.
Exactly. It was just like, okay, so we have this information now. Like, what do we do with it? And then it's out of date now since it was from yesterday. And I think we kind of just got to like that point where it's like, okay, we're too big, we're growing too fast, and we need to make too many decisions to be able to manage all this in a spreadsheet now or in individual systems. So that was the biggest thing, is like we need just a single source of truth.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I remember when I first met your team, I was like, man, for such a like what great systems thinkers and thinkers around like if we do this the right way, we can keep our operations lean. And that mindset was like kind of one of the big takeaways that I had from my world in Chubby's, where it was like more is not always more, right? And and meeting your team initially, that like just really resonated with me, where they're like, hey, we really need to get out ahead of this. If we do this now, we can operate more leanly as an organization. And I think you've effectively pulled that off and are expanding all these distribution channels and keeping the operations like relatively lean internally.
Yeah, I think the sooner you do something like this is like the sooner you make the move, the easier it is on you and on the entire team. Because I kind of look at SaunaBox and I'm like, if we had made this move, 6 months before we did, like it just the amount of information and the visibility and the decision making would have been a lot easier. So
That's amazing. And so when you started, so you had this moment, you started to think like we need to put a system in place. Let's be proactive about it. I remember talking to you all in the early phases of that. Like, what was it that stood out about Good Day? What was like the thing that you're like, oh man, this is the way for us.
I think it was just the interface, to be honest. I mean, it just seemed really, really easy to use, simple to learn. And that's the last thing you want to have to spend another 6 months on, is learning how the interface actually works. I am a big believer in like there's no point in having all this data if you can't use it and have action on it and be able to make decisions. So it seemed very, very easy to use. All of our team was able to get up to speed quickly on it. Your implementation team offered a lot of great training sessions, and I think they were just always on call, always available for any questions that we had. But yeah, it seemed very easy to use, very easy to learn, and then it just seemed like it was really going to help us make some really great decisions as we grew even more.
I love that. Man, when we started Good Day 3 years ago, there was a real question was like, can we make this simple?
It's
And
hard, right? I think anybody that
yeah,
has ever been in an ERP system will appreciate like the simplicity of
yeah,
Good Day in the best way possible, because I really truly like you have to spend 3 to 6 months learning a new ERP system, right? Because it's just not laid out like I don't know if this is good to say or not, but I
all
think
good.
like Good Day is like if Apple were to design an ERP system, like
Oh
just
man,
because
oh, music to my ears.
it has all the strength, all the capabilities that you want, but it's just got that beautiful interface and it's easy to use and utilize.
I love that. I'm gonna start using that in my conversations. I'm gonna credit you every
Yeah,
time.
we're the Apple
Uh,
of ERP
I
systems.
love that. I haven't gotten there, but I love that. That is a good mindset, and like it is really interesting just to remind me. It was music to my ears to hear you lead with that. Is like the like man, this is really why we did this, because it is one of the hardest things we do. It's one of the
Yeah,
hardest things we do. It slows everything down to try to
yeah.
make this hard stuff simple. And so
Good UI
I
has a
love it.
lot of coding behind it. There's a lot of good work to make it look
Totally.
simple, right?
In the other thing you said that really caught my ear was just around like data. And I want to pull that, I want to pull some out of that because I
I'm a
remember
data nerd, so if you get me started on data, I might not be able
let's
to turn it off.
let's do it because this is also very subtle, but such a big deal. I don't think enough people ask this question early when you're starting to assess these tools. It's like,
Yeah,
what is the philosophy of this partner around data? Like
yeah,
our philosophy is very simple and it's very antithetical to ERPs of the past. It is our job to mobilize your data to get you value, period. Hard stop. It's our responsibility. We work tirelessly to make integrations work. It is all a process of mobilizing your data for you and getting it to you so you can make powerful decisions against it. I'll just tell you, 5 years into a NetSuite implementation at Chubby's, and it's working, and we have a new integration we need, and it's like 4 months, $30,000,
yeah.
new software needs to be developed to get anything to work. And I was just like, oh man, like we need to build a world where you can just turn it on And
Yeah.
then you pair that with this idea of like, we need to mobilize the data. So like, I know you guys use our Google Sheets app. Like, we're
We're
working
also
on good.
loving the new beta Claude MCP
Yeah, I was
integration
just gonna say, I
too.
was just gonna ask
But
you. I was gonna ask you how deep you are in there. Have you begun to play with this?
oh, I'm pretty deep right now in the reporting.
Yes.
I have not gotten right access yet from
We're
Reach
working
and
on it.
Matt. I'm still waiting. But the reporting has been such a game changer for Claude MCP because it was already amazing because you can just log into GoodDay and
Yeah.
have basically like all your information there. So you only have to log in once, but you still have to like go and find the information, right? That's just a
Totally.
normal system. But then with the Claude integration, you can just ask very simple, like, what's my stock level on, our Pulse Pro? Boom, it's right there. It like, it's like
So
the
nice.
the very simple few steps you have to take in GoodDay are just like there in Claude. And then, you can even put Claude into Slack, which is what we use too. And it's like, that's even easier. But yeah, I've been having so much fun kind of using the skills that are already in Claude for GoodDay that they gave us. But I'm also having a lot of fun building new ones as well. So
Totally. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for us to be able to give everybody right access. Uh, Two thoughts. One, the stuff that our operators like you have built across the ecosystem, you can't make up. Like, we have the smartest, most thoughtful operators, and I learned something. I've been through the MCP process and just getting into calls with them. I learned something very cool every day. And
yeah.
man, I've never had more fun watching operations evolve. So
Yeah.
I can kind of feel that when you're talking about, you're like, actually, it's been pretty fun to like play around with this.
I know I'm a nerd. I'm a data nerd, so I'm just,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just like, what else can we build here? Like, what are we
totally.
missing that, or not even missing, but just like easier to have, So I've automated some daily reports with it, some weekly reports with it already, quarterly reports. It's just all of the things that you have to, you have to pull, but it's there, and every minute counts when you're in a scaling business, right? Because
100%.
minutes lead to hours and hours lead to days. So,
The only thing I would just add is like as a former brand operator, I think I'm basically having the same experience you are. I cannot wait for you to see the right access because it is the singular highest leverage thing that I have seen arrive in technology. So, and I've now talked to 4 or 5 of our biggest merchants who we're testing some of this stuff with, and they're kind of like, whoa, like the ability to ask a very complex question where the output is, I need to go change 50 different things in Good Day,
yeah.
and then having Claude say, do you want me to go do that for you? Is mind bending.
I can't even imagine. I mean, I
Yeah,
was pretty blown away. I created like a costing report last week where it pulled like all of our vendor costs, landed costs, shipment costs. It did,
yeah,
the individual calculations, and so that was, I mean, incredibly helpful to
yeah,
review that because we have so many shipments coming in
totally.
every week now. So it's
Yeah.
good to review to make sure and to keep, you can keep your vendors accountable too, is like, there's a trend fluctuation here with our shipment costs or with our COGS, which shouldn't be changing at all. Like let's look at that,
Yeah, I mean, there's whole surface areas. I mean, this vendor idea is a really good one. I remember 2 years ago being like, we have all the data to do dynamic vendor scorecards.
Yeah.
And it's like, we totally do not need that layer we do not need to overcomplicate our system with that at all because
Yeah.
you can just ask Claude, compare all of my vendors in the
Yeah.
last 12 months of history and tell me what you see.
Yeah.
And it is phenomenal at pulling data out of just droves of information. And so yeah, I thank you for helping evangelize that. I feel like it's like one of these things where I've seen like a sneak behind the curtain, and I'm like, you will not believe what I've seen. Like, get out here with me
Yeah. No, I
and
mean,
check it out.
pair it with your Shopify data too, and it's a whole nother
Totally.
level of
Yeah.
just information that is
Cool.
so crazy. And you can make it as granular or out of scope as, or scope out that you want it to. So
So let's transition. Talk me through the onboarding implementation process, just like overall service. Like, what's it like to work with the Good Day team? What's the good, bad, ugly, etc. Would love to get just like the high level on it.
Yeah, so David was our implementation guy,
The best.
and he was so great at our weekly calls. He was also, always available on Slack. If we had an issue, he was always willing to hop on a call with us. I mean, the whole GoodDay team's amazing. River helped us out a lot. They're so good at their job and so fun to talk with. But yeah, it was all it seemed very clear, very laid out. There was really like a checklist of like, these are all the stages, all the steps. This is what, we need to accomplish. All the calls were very specific. So I think like our first one was just purely focused on supply chain, but it wasn't overwhelming because each week it was like, okay, this is what we're going to focus on. This is the explanation. These are, the Google sheets that you need to fill out, simple things like, your product export from Shopify, vendor costs, things like that. So, yeah, it was just like very easy, streamlined. It was easy to keep up with. I think sometimes new implementations can seem a little overwhelming. But yeah, it was very digestible.
Cool. I appreciate that. And talk me through who on your team touches Good Day. Obviously, I think you're like the core user. Who are the other people around you that are also engaging with the information or actually in the system all day, every day?
Yeah, sure. So our operations team's always in it. I've been named the Good Day expert because I've been here since it launched, and I'm in it every day. But our COO obviously is in it very regularly. Our both of our founders, Sean and Nolan, are in it. Our customer experience manager is in it now.
Oh,
Some of our customer service teams. It's just easy for them to be able to say like, when is the shipment coming in, and be able to grab that themselves rather them slacking me and me looking it up and then
totally.
translating that information. So everyone on our team has access to it. They don't use it as much as I do, but we always thought from the very beginning, like we wanted everyone to have the access and availability and know how to use the system to answer questions that they had.
Yeah. I think this is like one of the sneaky things about how Good Day is working, but I think how most modern software is working, where it's like our entire data philosophy is about mobilizing the data for you. As such, we cannot gate information behind user seats. That would be
Yeah,
totally unfair. So, like, the very way we work with you is all about, like, no, anyone on your team who needs access to this information, we want them to get access to this information in the right ways. Um, and and like, man, if you just want to do a comparison from legacy ERP to future ERP, it's like, yeah, in legacy ERP land, the information is gated, so you cannot access it. You have to go
yeah,
through these people. And like you just described it, where it's like, yeah, the rest of your team is able to be self-sufficient. Like a
yeah.
customer service person doesn't bother you in the middle of your day when you're working on some long-term initiative to ask you when the shipment's arriving. They just know they can go get the information, which that like if you push that through the whole org, man, can that be powerful, right? Like that is using data to empower your team.
Exactly. I've been working operations for almost 20 years now, and I've worked, at much smaller companies, smaller scale as well. And yeah, it's a thought where you have to say like, is adding this new user worth the extra cost that we're going to have to pay for this user?
Yeah.
And that's nice because even a small business, medium business, large business, wherever you're at in your journey of business and you don't have to think about that. You don't have to think about like, is this extra user worth like, the $2,000 a year we're going to have to pay for them.
I love it. And then, okay, so let's transition. Let's talk about, so now you're in Good Day. Any specific results or improvements or anything you can quantify that's like, man, this used to be like this, now it's like this. Here's the impact it's having on the business. Would be super curious if there's anything that sticks out. Sometimes
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
hours
just hours
saved,
of time.
yeah, just straight up like getting rid of manual stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, just hours of time, I would say. I one of my old bosses used to ask me like, how much is your time worth?
yeah,
Um, and I think that's always stuck with me because, yeah, it's like we have all of our inventory in Good Day now. We have all of our sales orders, all of our purchase orders, all of our shipments, even if it takes you like 10 minutes to log or, find that information in that platform, log in, go through the authenticator app, of course, that you have to do for all of them. It's
Yeah.
just a lot of time that's saved, and it's just all there, all available, and it's just better decision making. I think that we've been able to see, pulling some. I have like a daily shipment report that I have in Claude now, that I pull and I look at every day. I'm like, okay, this shipment came in yesterday. These SKUs are going to come in, next week. So it's been something that we can review on our team calls every week. Help marketing make better decisions, because if we're close to being sold out of a product, we don't want to run ads for it. So it's been a cross functional, just overall time saver, I think, for us, definitely.
I love that. And I think when people think about ERPs, they don't think of the end-to-end nature of it. My
Yeah,
experience was exactly the same, where it was like, man, the inventory is the lifeblood of the business.
yeah,
If you're sending emails or driving ads towards the things that have all of a sudden become out of stock, yeah, just it's not going to work. So
exactly.
so I think having a flexible way for your team to identify when these key moments are and making that seamless is like never been more important. Brands talk about all the time, talk to 100 brands a month, like Meta getting more expensive year after year after year, and it's like, well, let's get under the hood. Are you sending people to product pages that are fully out of stock or have broken
Yeah,
stock? Because there's many different layers to why something might not convert. And so I think like being able to mobilize this data across the org, customer. I love that you called out customer support. I love that you called out marketing. It seems like you guys are like really able to get a nice horizontal value chain going, related to the inventory, which just like tales old as time in retail. When you get the inventory right, man, things hum. When you get the
yeah.
inventory wrong, it's hard. I think everything makes everything hard.
Yeah, we're always balancing, like this product moved a lot faster than maybe we anticipated. So now we have to order more, and just every function speaks to each other and impacts each other, right? And so I think that that's something that we've been able to manage a lot better with GoodDay. Like the marketing team can go in and see we only have this amount of units for this SKU, so like they don't have to ask me anymore.
I get it, right? So so um so talk me through just some like advice you'd give to other brands. There's not like we're talking to literally hundreds of brands a month. Like,
Yeah,
what would you tell them to consider if they're considering Good Day?
do it. No, I
I'll
mean,
take it.
yeah, we just so for right now, we launched, mid-April, or that was our go live date
Mhm.
with GoodDay. And so we're looking back at the data that we have now, and it basically you get the data where you start at, where you went live with the organization. It would have been nice to have that, 6 months, a year earlier. So I would say do it before you think you're ready, or that maybe you need it, because you do need it and you are ready. Just some advice for implementation, like just make sure that you have like all your information that you think that you'll need, like SKUs and shop. We didn't have everything in Shopify because it lived in a lot of different places.
Yeah.
So we did have to spend some time, like, consolidating the vendor costs and the cogs, and the SKU name. Like some of that was in Shopify, some of it lived in other places. So consolidate and have a good knowledge of what data that you have and what you'll need when you launch. Start working on that, and then just kind of make the leap, because it's a lot easier than what you think it'll be. The team really walks you through everything, but the more data that you have earlier on, I think the better that you always are for decisions that you need to make.
I love that. I love that. And I do want to give you some kudos because what we've observed over all the brands that are live, you have to have a point of contact, somebody like you inside the organization who's focused on saying, like,
Yes.
hey, these are the processes. We have to stick to this so that the data stays clean. And I know that that's like a little bit amorphous, like the why or what are you talking about? But now that we're starting to use these the underlying data in increasingly high leverage ways, and Claude, like you described, right? It's like, man, if you can just trust that what's in Good Day is clean, and you have somebody inside your org that's doing that work and holding people accountable, now you can tell your whole team. Give them
Yeah, definitely have like a
see if you
lead
get one.
person or like a point of contact for
Oh,
GoodDay. I was brought in around the time when we started GoodDay, so like that was one of my tasks is like get GoodDay live, and I was
yeah.
like, okay, I will try my
Here we go.
best. Which was nice because it was one of the first things I was really focusing on, so I had like some extra time, and it was good for me to a good way for me to learn the organization as well. But yeah, it was nice because I didn't have to spend too much time without GoodDay as
Oh,
well.
there we go. There we go.
So I didn't have to live without it for too long, but I definitely saw the pain points coming in of everything being very disjointed.
Is there anything else I didn't ask that you think that you have on your mind?
It's just a great system overall. We've had a lot of good experiences, good amount of better decision making. And I think that GoodDay has really become that single source of truth for us where we don't have to look in 10 different places for things anymore. So it just really cuts down on that decision making time, and it's good to be able to track costs now and track inventory and track like when did we think this shipment was going to arrive and when did it actually arrive, and then we can adjust our time frames and timelines for inventory planning purposes. So
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. I want to make sure we get you out of here on time.
of
But
course,
man, I can't describe how grateful we are. Thank you so much for working with us, and thanks for sharing this with the broader community. Everybody's going to learn from this.
thanks Kyle. Everybody
Uh,
just do it, go to GoodDay.
Yay! All right. Enjoy your week.
Thank you too.
Bye.
Bye.